Bookcase and Coffee presents Buzzing About Romance, a quick shot of romance.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Quick Shot of Romance. I am Becky, and joining me for this episode is podcast contributor Carolina. Hi, Carolina.
Hey, Becky.
So I twisted your arm. I held you hostage. I finally got you to read a Lauren Rowe book.
I am so glad you did. Oh, my word. I can't believe I've been missing out.
And you read like in the middle of in this series of like, because hers is a world.
Okay, and so it is a world. And I looked back at the books, like, because I knew inserting myself in the middle of it, like, I was like, okay, is there an order? But they're all really standalones.
They are.
And I have to say, she does a fantastic job. I don't feel lost at all. And she gives you just enough to build each kind of backstory, so you feel like you're catching up. Like, I almost felt like I was Allie, the heroine, because I'm meeting all these people for the first time. And I mean, she knows who they are because she's fans of the band, but she doesn't know them on a personal level. But I wasn't lost, and I was completely intrigued, and I'm going, wow, crap. Now there's like 5 more books I need to read.
So
now.
The interesting thing is Smitten, it has a storyline that intersects with the Reed Rivers trilogy. And Reed Rivers is where I started with Lauren Rowe. And then
I'm so anxious to read that, because after the party, when
we'll get to that. Get to that. Okay, hold on. So on this episode of A Quick Shot of Romance, Carolina and I are reviewing Smitten by Lauren Rowe. This is an absolute standalone romance, friends to lovers, but Lauren Rowe books all take place in the same world. There is crossover from some of her other books, including the Reed Rivers trilogy and the Morgan brothers. So read us the synopsis from Goodreads.
I met Alessandra at a party, tried to impress her, was almost positive I was going to fail. I think I said something along the lines of, I'm a goat called Fish who's hung like a bull, but not really. I'm actually pretty average. Smooth, I know. Try not to be jealous. When she laughed, and I mean really laughed, I knew she wasn't like the other girls I'd been meeting on tour. Hell, she wasn't even the same stratosphere as those fangirls and gold diggers. At one point during the party, Alessandra said, there's nothing like a girl's first love. I knew she was talking about the first smash hit by my band, 22 Goats. Alessandra said it was the first song she heard by us, and it hit her like a ton of bricks. Ironic, seeing as how I was having the same reaction to being in her presence. I made it my mission to impress her, give her the kiss of a lifetime that night. But since I've always been the dude with zero game, nothing went according to plan. I'm not giving up, though. I'm going to win this girl over. I'm done sitting on the sidelines, watching the bad boy getting the girl. This time, the nice guy will finish first, even if it's the last thing he'll do.
So Smitten is a best-selling standalone romance with no prior reading required that is interconnected with the world of River Records and the Morgan brothers. This released July 25th of 2020. This is a rock star, friends to lovers, shy heroine, and a slow burn romance. Also, she is a virgin. And technically, I mean, he's not, but inexperienced. He's very inexperienced.
Yes, but he's also only had transactional relationships.
Right. So this is a standalone. It's put out percentage is 53% with mutual masturbation. And then I think they actually have sex at 62%. Audiobook narrate. I listened to the audiobook, which is...
I read the book.
You read the book.
Mm-hmm.
The book is in Kindle Unlimited, and the audiobooks are narrated by Andy Arndt and Tim Page. So there's something cool that happens in the audiobooks, and it's also in the ebooks. So Lauren Rowe writes these rockstar romances. She actually puts recording of the songs in
Yes.
the audiobook, but also makes clickable links over to YouTube so you can listen to the songs also.
Yeah, there was a couple. I was delighted that she did that, especially on the two that she picked, because um you can click and you can hear them, and it
Yeah.
was just a little surprise and delight for the reader. So I was glad that they were in the ebooks as well, because I sure listened to them, and they were sweet. It's sweet to kind of layer that into versus just reading lyrics on a page.
Yeah. Well, and it gives you some feels. And this
Gives
book,
it depth. It gives
yeah.
it so much more depth.
And this book has big, big feels and roller coaster feels, but it's not angsty at all. I don't
No,
think
it's
it's
not.
angsty at all. So Alessandra,
I
go ahead.
I mean, the title of the book, like, you're just legit smitten with these characters. Like, 100% smitten with them, their relationship.
But you're really
And
smitten with the world. And
yes.
some of these side characters, a lot of these side characters that are in this book already have their stories. And like I said, I came into Lauren Rowe's world with the Reed Rivers trilogy. Then I worked backwards and read Rockstar. And then I worked backwards from there and read Hero. And then the rest of the Morgans. And she has her Club trilogy, which is a sex club, BDSM, that starts off the Morgan family. The sister does. But this book,
It was such, oh God, it was so delightful, heartwarming, like, all the fuzzy feels. I mean, my husband drives everywhere. So, like, I read in the car, right?
yeah,
Don't talk to me. I got to read a book.
right.
And I was laughing out loud and snickering, and he just gives me these looks. So I'd kind of tell him a little bit of the story and read him an element, and he was laughing too. Like,
Well,
it was so cute. I was so infatuated, especially with their meet cute. Like, it was so endearing.
well, just even the start of the book, when you meet Matthew Fishburne, he is the ultimate nice guy, but he's
Mhm.
tired of being alone. He's tired of being the guy without a partner. He's not overly sexy. He's very tall and lanky. He compares himself to Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo. Mhm.
And he doesn't have a ton of presence or confidence. I would almost say he's a beta hero.
Yes, I
You
would
know,
agree.
and we don't read a ton of beta heroes. We tend to lean more towards the dominant alpha, stronger male hero, but he had this quiet elegance and strength about him.
But it was like he was an alpha for her. Like,
Yeah.
he kind of stepped up to the plate. But she was the perfect heroine because she didn't need a super domineering alpha. She needed a confidence building hero, because she had it there and somebody to recognize her talent. And it was such a perfect fit. I mean, this is not an opposites attract. They parallel each other in so many ways that helped kind of build their confidence. And he needed the confidence too, because he's only ever had, he tells her, I've never had a girlfriend. I've
Yeah.
never had a relationship. It's always been one night stands. And she sees past the rock star. She sees the person.
Yeah. Well, and he's everybody's friend. He's the good guy. And Alessandra doesn't have that necessarily. She has her sister, George. It's her ex-stepsister. The relationship in that family is a little complicated. But she has Georgina. And Georgina's a spitfire. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, her book with Reed Rivers,
I got to read that book, because
so
seriously,
freaking sparky. Like,
there's a scene where this is the meet cute for Fish and Allie ends abruptly, and it causes Georgina and Allie to leave. And Georgina is pissed at Reed, and
So
I
pissed.
want, like, I need to know more. I need to know the backstory. I need to know it all, because, and then there's a quote in this book towards the end of the book that one of the guys calls Reed out, like, "You're scared of Georgina," and he's like, 100%. I'm terrified. I'm terrified of that woman. So you can tell he loves her, but like.
Well, and I read that book. So you read that book and it's this angsty, it's a trilogy. And at the end of each book, you're going, fucking Reed Rivers? What is wrong with this guy? He needs to just shut up. And then you come into Smitten and you have this hero. So that has a lot of angst in that book just because they're like these two really powerhouse dynamic characters. Then you come into this book, Smitten, and they're dynamic, but in a quiet gentleness.
Subtle,
yeah.
Very like musician, like artist kind of.
Yeah. Well, and Alessandra she's a songwriter. She is at a prestigious school, but she has some performance anxiety. And she also, like, one of the things that I liked about her is she didn't oversell herself, but she didn't undersell. She's like, I still have a lot to learn. I'm still just getting there. Give me some time. But once Matthew comes into the relationship, he gives her just that steady place to land, like to lean on for support without trying to overtake her. Because he could have totally introduced her to other record executives and, been like, hey, give me your notebook of all your songs. I'll get them sold for you. He had those connections, but he didn't do that. He didn't tell her, well, this is what you got to do. He did try to build her up, but in a way that didn't overshadow.
He let her have her moment. He kind of he teed her up and then let her take it from there.
Yeah.
Which was really sweet. I loved it. And there was so much cute. I think the first third of the book is their meet cute. And there's so much character development, even in that first third. The conversations they have, the tangent they get on about astrology, how like it almost happens over like throughout the day. There's like a pool party, and then they come back later for a bigger party, like an actual big party. And he like takes her hand and he introduces her. This is my date. This is my date. And she's like, what? I didn't know it was your date, but like, okay. And it was just cute because I think he says in there, he's only there because she's there.
Yeah, he wasn't going to come. He went to the pool party, and one of the members of his band, so his band is represented by the Reed Rivers Records, but also his lead singer in his band, Dax Morgan, is married to Reed Rivers' sister, Violet. And that's the book Rockstar, which again, go read, guys. But so there's this, he was only going just to be a good band member, but he didn't have any plans to go to this big, huge party that was launching something else, because parties aren't his thing. He's kind of the guy that likes to strum in the corner. And he, Allie, in that whole first third where they're getting to know each other, there's this whole party going around them with huge music people in the industry, some of her idols and all of this stuff. And all she cares about is sitting quietly outside having this conversation with Matthew. Like,
yeah,
she can't see past him. And I think that was something that I really liked in this book, this drawl they have to each other. This, like once they set eyes on each other, there's no one else in the room. They
created their own bubble.
Yeah.
And so they have a miskiss on their first kiss gets interrupted. And then the whole thing where she leaves with her sister abruptly. But I think it works for this. I really like it for this story, because then she goes back to Boston and ends up going back to LA. And so they're separated, so they have to do a lot of their dating via video chat, and it builds their relationship. They have all kinds of conversations and they just talk, and I really liked that for their characters. And especially once he realizes that she's a virgin, like, okay, he needs to take a different approach on this. So it does have that, it's a slow burn, but it's slow burn done right. um and then I also loved he goes to his friends and asks for advice, like, okay, what do I need to know here, because I want to make this good for her. And it's really kind of it's a fun and interesting conversation.
So Lauren Rowe writes very sex positive books, and there is a book called Ball Peen Hammer, and he was a porn star and a stripper that now has this Netflix styled reality show. And he falls in love with one of his directors from his TV show. And he has all the moves, but it's all about women's pleasure. It's very sex positive. It's very positive. And so, yeah, Matthew goes to Peen, they call him Peen, for some love advice. And he has a certain move that he guarantees a woman will orgasm. It's funny. And if you read Swoon, which is one of our titles in Clear the TBR, you learn all about the special move.
And he talks about he also talks to Kat at this party, and she recommends a site for Allie to go to just help her really learn her body a bit more.
Yeah.
And during that conversation, it's like, yeah, he's like, I don't know that we're there yet. And so they learn a little bit more, and she's like, Kat's like, okay, I'm gonna tell Georgina to tell her sister about this site, so that takes the pressure off of you. And she and then when Fish and Allie end up, like, she opens up a little bit more and she reveals, it becomes like this cute little banter with them about.
It was kind of an awkward conversation because he doesn't want to be like, yes, but it's told from his point of view, where in his brain he's going, yes, she found the site.
And it's just, it's sweet because he cares about her. He wants to make it good for her. And he doesn't know that he's also kind of admitting he doesn't have the experience to make sure the experience is good for her.
Yeah. So one of the best things in this entire book, other than like the audiobook has the songs in it, or you can listen to them in the ebook, there was this whole piece as flowers as a love language, or flowers as their own language, and what flowers you send. And that is quirky and it is nerdy, but I loved it.
And it makes sense in that it's not just written as some random character trait, because Allie's mom is a florist.
Yeah.
And she does a lot of florals for weddings, and understands the meanings of flowers. What I love about Fish too, and is that he listens to her and he picks up on those little things. And she said something about, how she kind of gushed about how flowers have meanings, and she loves working with her mom on this. And, the Victorian era has just different meanings. And this is how couples would communicate to each other without actually saying things. And just how he sends the flowers to her.
Yeah, he just embraces it. And again, it's just a subtle, like, testament to how much he pays attention and what a good listener he is.
Yeah.
And his connection to her. Okay. So the epilogue in this book, and I'm not going to spoil it or anything like that, but the epilogue in this book, as I'm reading this, I'm thinking of you and I'm thinking of Lindsay, because this is your kind of epilogue.
Yeah. I love this kind of epilogue. So sweet.
It's years out there.
It's like a super flash forward epilogue. And you get the best of the characters in it. You get the success of their lives, not just their careers, their lives. But you also get the sweet moments. that like are why you love them so much.
Yeah. And
I also loved their nicknames. Like this book was great with nicknames and pet names. So he always called her Little Lioness.
Yeah.
And it became kind of part of their running banter. And then Fish had all kinds of nicknames from everywhere, from the band, from her. Like there was like Fish Taco, Fish, like it just, there was just so many that like every time somebody came up with a different name for him, it was like, oh my God, this is out of control.
It has this huge family feel, even though these two individuals have very small families because of the Morgan family. And I think that if you like Melissa Foster style books with, you know, these outlying characters that all play into this big world, you would like these books. You would like this author. But she doesn't crowd the pages.
No, I also relate it to Harlow James, where she gets that, like, I feel like the band was like that, how it's this tight knit group of guys, and like her Billionaire series, because it was these guys together that were so interconnected, and then it just kind of builds and it adds people.
It has similar feelings to Jay Salmon's Wild Mind band books too. You know, they're interconnected. Once you become a member of the group, you know, as the significant other, you're in and you're not escaping, and they all kind of love and accept you. So I think it had that similarity too. I love Lauren Rowe. And if you haven't read her books, I cannot recommend them enough.
Now you've got me addicted now. So
You're
good
welcome.
thing we have a Clear the TBR challenge, because she's been on my TBR for a while.
So awkward transitions is what we do here at Buzzing About Romance. So I just want to say real quick, we're kind of changing up our quick shots, and we will not be going through our 3 questions. If we're doing a quick shot on the book, we are recommending it to you. We are telling you, go read this book, add this author to your TBR. So I also want to let you know that you can get more book reviews from us over on patreon.com. We are doing special Buzzing After Dark episodes and Should I Read It? And then if you have a title you think we should review, send it to us, because, you know, we want to talk about all the books.
We always need more books to read.
Right? There's never enough books. Anyway, Carolina, thank you so much for joining me for this quick shot of romance.
Thanks for having me and having me finally read Lauren Rowe.
You're so welcome. Until next time, everyone, happy reading.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.